There comes a moment when the world goes quiet. Not because everything is fine, but because everything has fallen apart. You stand in the middle of your wreckage, dreams shattered, faith trembling, and silence louder than your heartbeat. That's when it hits you. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is how it ends. But deep inside, there's still a spark that refuses to die, whispering one truth: defeat won't be the answer. The story always starts in the dark. The kind of dark where you can't tell if it's night or just the shadow of your own failure. You walk through it slowly, dragging the weight of every mistake you ever made. You remember the moments when you were certain you'd win, the promises, the plans, the people who said they'd stay. But dreams have a strange way of breaking right when you're closest to them. At first you fight it. You tell yourself it's just a bad day, that tomorrow will be better. But then, tomorrow comes, and nothing changes. The light fades, and the voices around you grow distant. You start to question your own strength, wondering if maybe the world was right about you. Maybe you were never meant to make it. Maybe your story ends here, in the silence of your own defeat. But even as you sink, there's something inside you that won't stop burning. It's quiet, but it's stubborn. It's that small voice that says, "Not yet." You try to ignore it, but it keeps coming back, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every tear that falls. Because deep down, you know something the world doesn't, that this darkness isn't your ending. It's your training ground. Defeat isn't the enemy, it's the mirror. It shows you who you are when everything else is gone. It strips away the noise, the praise, the fake smiles, and leaves only the truth. And in that truth, you find the one thing that can't be broken: your will. The will to stand again, even when it hurts. The will to rebuild, even when no one's watching. The will to believe, even when everything says you shouldn't. Every hero, every success, every victory you've ever heard of, it started right here, in this same place of loss. Because greatness doesn't begin with applause. It begins with failure. It begins with falling, and choosing to rise again. You see, defeat was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you. So as you stand there, surrounded by what's left of your dreams, remember this: the world might count you out, but the story isn't over until you say it is. Every ending is just a setup for a stronger beginning. And when you rise again, and you will, the same people who once doubted you will call it magic. But you'll know it wasn't magic at all. It was you, and that small spark that refused to die. That was your truth all along. Defeat won't be the answer. There's a strange silence that follows after you lose. Not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that wraps around your chest and doesn't let go. You wake up, but you don't feel awake. The sun rises, but everything still looks gray. You start moving through the day like a ghost in your own life, watching everyone else keep going while you're stuck in the ruins of what used to be your dream. The weight of defeat isn't loud. It doesn't scream in your ear or crash like thunder. It's quiet, too quiet. It hides in small things. In the way your hands tremble when you reach for something you used to be good at. In the way you stare at the floor because meeting your own eyes in the mirror hurts too much. It lives in every question you can't answer. What went wrong? Why me? Why now? You replay the moments over and over again, trying to find the mistake that ended it all. Maybe you trusted too much. Maybe you tried too hard. Or maybe you just weren't enough. Those thoughts eat at you, one bite at a time, until the person you were starts to disappear. You stop believing in effort. You stop believing in luck. Worst of all, you stop believing in yourself. You see others moving forward, chasing their victories, their laughter echoing like ghosts of a world you no longer belong to. You scroll through faces that smile like they've never failed, and suddenly your loss feels heavier. You convince yourself that everyone else figured it out, that you're the only one who fell apart. But here's the truth: they've all been here too. They just don't talk about it. They hide their broken parts behind filters and fake confidence. Defeat doesn't just break dreams. It breaks pride. It turns confidence into doubt and strength into silence. It makes you afraid to start again because you've learned what it feels like to fail. That fear becomes your cage, invisible, but strong. You start saying things like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, or maybe it's time to give up. Not because you truly believe it, but because it's easier than hoping again. Hope hurts. Hope reminds you of everything you lost. But in that heavy silence, something else begins to grow. It's small at first, a whisper buried under the noise of your thoughts. It doesn't tell you to forget what happened. It tells you to remember it differently, to stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Maybe the world wasn't rejecting you. Maybe it was refining you. Maybe that door didn't close because you were unworthy, but because you were unready. There's a lesson inside every loss, but you have to be quiet enough to hear it. Defeat teaches you how to endure, how to listen, how to survive when no one's clapping for you. It strips you of pride and leaves you with purpose. It makes you realize that strength isn't about never falling. It's about never staying down. You start to notice the shift, slow, invisible, but real. One morning, you get up and don't feel as heavy. You start to move differently, think differently. The fear is still there, but it no longer controls you. You stop asking why me, and start asking what now. That's when the healing begins, not when the pain disappears, but when you decide to walk through it anyway. Defeat doesn't mean you failed, it means you cared. It means you tried for something that mattered, and anything that matters will always come with risk, with fear, with loss. But that's what separates those who stay broken from those who rebuild. The ones who rise again aren't the ones who never lost. They're the ones who refuse to let the loss define them. So, let the silence stay for a while. Let it hurt. Let it remind you of everything you fought for. Because one day soon, that same silence will become your strength. You'll look back and realize the weight you carried was never meant to crush you. It was meant to build your backbone. And when the world sees you again, stronger, wiser, unshaken, they'll think you found some secret way out of the storm. But you'll know the truth. You didn't escape the storm. You became it. Defeat may have tested you, but it will never define you. Because in your story, defeat won't be the answer. There's always that one moment. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or applause. It comes quietly, like the first breath after drowning. You don't even notice it at first. You're still broken, still tired, still unsure if you even want to try again. But deep inside, somewhere beneath the weight of loss and the noise of doubt, something flickers. A tiny spark. You almost miss it, but it's there. It's the part of you that refuses to accept that this is how your story ends. You start to feel it when the world isn't looking, when you're sitting in silence and a single thought crosses your mind. What if I'm not done yet? That question is the start of everything. It's not loud, but it's alive. It spreads quietly through your chest like a pulse you thought you lost. That spark doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about your scars or your failures. It just burns, small but steady, reminding you that somewhere inside, you still want more. It's strange how it happens. The same hands that once trembled from defeat start to clench again, not in fear, but in defiance. The same eyes that used to stare at the ground start to look forward. You begin to see that the pain didn't break you. It trained you. Every loss, every tear, every sleepless night, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The spark whispers, you've already survived the worst. What's left to fear now? And suddenly, you understand. The fire you thought was gone never left. It was buried beneath the ashes of disappointment, waiting for you to breathe life back into it. That's how rebirth happens, not in grand gestures, but in quiet decisions. The decision to show up again. The decision to try one more time. The decision to believe, even when no one else does. You stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. You stop trying to be who you were before the fall and start becoming who you were meant to be because of it. You realize that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about learning how to rebuild differently. You start small, one step, one choice, one act of courage. And every small action feeds the spark until it becomes a flame. But don't get it twisted. The world won't suddenly make it easy. It will test you again, harder this time, just to see if you've truly changed. It'll throw the same storms, the same doubts, the same pain back in your path. But now, you're not the same person who faced them before. You've learned that the storm isn't there to stop you. It's there to show you how far you've come. You'll notice that people who once doubted you start watching again, quietly. Some will expect you to fail. Others will pretend they believed in you all along, but their opinions don't matter anymore. You're not doing this to prove anyone wrong. You're doing this to prove yourself right. That's what the spark does. It changes your reason for fighting. You no longer rise out of anger or revenge. You rise out of purpose. Each day, you build something new out of what's left. A new mindset, a new rhythm, a new belief that you can turn your pain into power. You start to move like you've been through fire, because you have, but instead of burning you, it forged you. The spark becomes a flame, and that flame becomes your armor. Every scar turns into a badge, every failure into fuel. You begin to see beauty in your scars, not because they're pretty, but because they're proof you healed. You stop asking why me, and start saying try me. The fear that once controlled you starts to fade, not because you stopped being afraid, but because you finally understood. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward. Despite it, that's when everything starts to shift. Your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your heart beats louder. The same darkness that once suffocated you now becomes your canvas. You paint your comeback with every ounce of strength you've earned. You no longer walk through the fire, you walk with it, because the flame that once threatened to consume you now lives within you. And when people ask you how you found your way back, you'll smile because they'll never understand that it wasn't luck, or talent, or timing. It was that small, stubborn spark that refused to die when everything else did, the one that whispered, "Get up, you're not finished yet." That spark, that quiet, defiant piece of your soul, is the reason you're still here, the reason you're still fighting. And it's the reason that no matter how many times you fall, you'll always rise again. Because when everything else fades, that fire remains. And as long as that spark burns inside you, defeat will never be the answer. There's a silence before every comeback, a stillness that feels almost sacred. No crowds, no spotlight, no one clapping for you, just the sound of your own breath, steady and deliberate, as you get ready to start again. That's where the grind begins, in the quiet, in the unseen, in the moments when no one believes in you except yourself. People talk about success like it's a destination, but they never talk about what it takes to get there. The lonely mornings, the late nights, the battles no one sees. The grind isn't pretty, it's not cinematic. It's sweat, repetition, doubt, and discipline. It's waking up on days you don't want to, doing what needs to be done even when it hurts, even when your heart says stop. Because deep down, you know something they don't. You've been through worse. And you didn't break. This is where true power is built, not in victory, but in consistency. Every day you show up, you sharpen yourself. Every failure you rise from, you harden your edge. The grind doesn't ask for motivation. It demands commitment. It's not about how fast you get there, but how long you can keep going when no one's watching. That's where grit is born. You start to realize that strength isn't loud. It's not about flexing or proving anything. It's quiet. It's in the decision to try again after yesterday broke you. It's in the calm focus when everything inside you wants to quit. Grit doesn't roar, it whispers. It says, keep going. Just 2 words, over and over again, until they become a rhythm that beats louder than fear. Every drop of sweat becomes a story. Every setback becomes another lesson carved into your spirit. The grind teaches you humility, to respect the process, to trust the timing, to find pride in effort instead of outcome. It strips away your excuses, your comfort, your ego, until all that's left is your will. And when that's all you have left, that's when you become unstoppable. There will be days when you doubt everything again, days when your body aches, your mind screams, and the world feels like it's closing in. But that's when you remember what the grind gave you: resilience. You've learned how to keep walking with heavy legs, how to see through the fog, how to fight when you're tired of fighting. You've learned that pain isn't your enemy, it's your partner. It shapes you, toughens you, polishes your edges. The grind doesn't promise results right away, it demands patience. It's the art of falling in love with the process even when you don't see progress. It's learning to trust that every effort, no matter how small, is building something bigger inside you. And one day, when you least expect it, you look back and realize you've come farther than you ever imagined. You stop chasing validation because you've already proven something deeper to yourself. You no longer crave recognition because you know the truth. Real greatness doesn't need to be seen to exist. It's felt, it's lived, it's earned through the grind and sealed with grit. As the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into years, the grind becomes your identity. It's not about chasing success anymore, it's about mastering yourself. You start waking up not just to survive the day, but to dominate it. You stop running from challenges and start hunting them, because now, you understand that every obstacle is another opportunity to show what you're made of. Grit is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's what keeps you steady when others give up. It's what reminds you that progress isn't made in leaps, it's made in inches, inch by inch, day by day, failure after failure. You build something unshakable, and when the world finally notices your rise, they'll call it talent, destiny, or luck. But you'll know it was none of those things. It was work, relentless, thankless, fearless work. The grind doesn't give you shortcuts, but it gives you scars, and those scars tell your story better than any victory speech ever could. They say, I didn't quit, I didn't stop, I didn't let defeat define me. You wear those scars with pride because they mean you earned every inch of your comeback. And when you finally stand where you once dreamed to be, you won't just feel proud, you'll feel powerful, because you'll know exactly what it took to get there. The sleepless nights, the broken pieces, the endless effort, all of it was worth it, because through the grind, you didn't just win, you became someone who can't be broken anymore. This is the moment where defeat loses its voice, where failure becomes fuel, where your past becomes proof. You are no longer chasing redemption, you are living it. Because in the world of the relentless, defeat isn't a reason to stop, it's the reason to start again. And that's why defeat will never be the answer.